As a show of support and a signal of intent, tens of thousands of pro-government supporters packed the stands at Kinshasa's Tata Raphael Stadium to hear speeches including an address from presidential candidate Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari. It was an impressive turnout given President Joseph Kabila's current low poll ratings and Shadari's small support base.
We go for the elections on December 23rd. We know that you're ready for this election. We'll campaign peacefully and for sure we'll win with the help of God.
President Kabila's turn.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is poised to see the arrival of one of the late elections, December 23rd. Longtime President The Electoral Commission says the machines will speed up vote counting. Past elections have been marred by voting irregularities or violence. But opposition party members and Catholic bishops have called for the machines to be inspected by international experts over concerns the devices might enable fraud.
Right now, we're not afraid of anything, but sometimes people can steal with this machine here.
お前はもう死んでいる。
Located just south of Seoul and Pyeongchang, declined VOA's interview request, but responded to the controversy in a statement to local media. CEO Chung Jin-bok said the concern about its voting machines stemmed from not fully understanding how they work. Chung said even with the introduction of an electronic voting and ballot counting system, the paper ballot system is still present. He added that it will enhance the reliability of the election by recording votes 3 times on a touchscreen machine, at the central server, and on paper. However, Sung-Joo Kim, a professor of information security at Korea, like any other computer systems, can be compromised.
Even if you secure the data on the touchscreen, the server, and ballot, companies can't control how the elections are conducted and therefore should not promise vote integrity.
Election officials feel confident they are ready to proceed with December elections that many consider a crucial step towards ending the political instability that is impeding investment in a country with widespread poverty, economic and
Opposition supporters have waited a whole year to hear this announcement. Your candidate, Lazarus Chakwera, won the presidential vote. It's the exact opposite result after first trying to hold the vote, declaring outgoing president Peter Mutharika the winner. That decision was followed by massive protests because the vote was rigged. Correction fluid was even used on result sheets. Second time in the history of Africa after Kenya, the case was brought to the top court who dismissed the results, leading to outgoing president, though, says the rerun was rigged too. His party calling for a third vote.
sexual harassment that had been happening on behalf of the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines to really silence the voices of people who were supporting progressive candidates.
お前はもう死んでいる。
That's the deadline for all the ballots to be mailed to the voters. It took them 2 weeks before they even started voting out. So clearly, this is a disenfranchisement of the voters. We have lost the right to vote. As I said before, ballots delayed is ballots denied.
If Kelly Loeffler wants your vote, if David Perdue wants your vote, they've got to earn it. If Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue do not do it, they have not earned your vote. But hold your vote!
You seem to concede that his supporters are right behind him.
Our voice will be heard. These people didn't come to Washington for nothing. We stand up and fight for what we want. And we want Trump in the White House to defend our president, defend the Constitution.
Do you think it will change anything?
Will this change anything? I think it will.
5, 6, 7, 8.
The two sides have a divided
Hold its general election on November 8th, 5 years after the landmark poll that ended decades of military rule. Now this time, the National League for Democracy, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, will be the incumbent government, and voters will judge them on their track record. Young Waikit tells us more.
Country. Now we are asking for constitutional amendments, not because we're trying to win a case, but because we think that certain amendments are necessary if this country is to be a truly functioning democracy in line with the will of the people. Because of that, we will persist in our efforts.
お前はもう死んでいる。
has carried out a coup d'etat in Myanmar. They've seized control of the country and detained key government officials, including the country's de facto leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. The military accuses the government of failing to act on claims of voter fraud in last November's election. They announced emergency measures via the news channel they own in Myanmar.
The nation's lawmaking, governance and jurisdiction is handed over to the Commander-in-Chief, according to the 2008 Constitution, Article 418.
Well, there's been...
The military will take power, but we're not saying it won't either.
This was the moment that it all began. In a press conference on Tuesday, military spokesperson Zaw Min Tun refused to rule out the possibility of a coup. The following day, military chief Min Aung Hlaing stoked fears when he said the constitution should be repealed if it was not abided by. The comments follow weeks of complaints from the military of voter fraud in November's election and demands for an investigation.
The military is forced
Country amid growing protests against this week's coup. Crowds of people took to the streets of the largest city, Yangon, on Saturday to denounce the military takeover. Riot police blocked the streets using barricades and water cannon. Many of the protesters wore red in support of arrested leader Aung San Suu Kyi.
The military will take power, but we're not saying it won't either.
This was the moment that it all began. In a press conference on Tuesday, military spokesperson Zaw Min Tun refused to rule out the possibility of a coup. The following day, military chief Min Aung Hlaing stoked fears when he said the constitution should be repealed if it was not abided by. The comments follow weeks of complaints from the military of voter fraud in November's election and demands for an investigation.
The military is forced